Good afternoon, mech warriors, mech techs, and nobles in hiding. It is Friday. Y'all know what that means. It means today is the day we are going to chill. We are going to vibe, and we are going to prepare our souls for the Scrotorious Bastards tonight. If anybody is joining us and hasn't been here before, today we have, well, I say today we have, today is the only day in the week that we do a double stream. We do both development in the morning, which is where we're doing now, and we do Scrotorious Bastards in the evening, our ongoing MekHQ campaign, where we fight for your right to resist the clans. Hello everybody. How are you all today? I'm doing okay. The sun's shining in a really nice way. It's not too horrible outside. It's warm, but it's not obscenely warm. You're joining me just in the final sways of setting up some code that needs to be processed. I'm going to need to write some tests for all this, but that is a problem for future me. All I need to know is, can we actually run MekHQ? So let's do Java doc. This will help us build. I haven't been doing much since you left me last stream. I can see that we have a new follower. Thank you very much for the follow, Balamar the Bass Fish. I hope you're able to catch this in VOD or perhaps pop in yourself. Anybody who's on the IllianiDev Discord will know we actually have a couple of new emotes. We also have a bot so that I don't have to manually post when videos go live. Yay! I see Pathstrider is already using one of our brand new emotes. So if you are a subscriber, you will be getting two new emotes. Those are the Rasselhague Republic and the Clan Crap Bear. If you are a follower, you'll have access to Flash Fried as well as Clan Nova Bandit, the replacement to the old Bandit emote, because the old emote just was basically stealthed, had stealth armor when it came to posting on the dark theme. So yeah, little by little, we are turning into a real stream with real streamer benefits. Not really. Like, we're on the way there, but we're nowhere near. We also, last stream had our first raid. Woo! So exciting. We actually worked out how to do it. By the way, it's a pain in the ass. But that's probably what we're going to be doing at the end of this stream. We're probably going to start getting into the habit of raiding other streamers, because it's a good way to get you guys exposed to potentially new awesome content creators you can follow, as well as well, getting the MegaMek name out there as well. Because when the people are like, "Oh, who's raiding me?" and they see that we're part of the MegaMek community, they're like, "Ooh, maybe I will play MegaMek, maybe." So look forward to that. I have no idea who we're in a raid. Just going to pick someone at random out of the BattleTech or MegaMek streaming community. Radar says they're doing all right. Caught a couple of UI bugs for an alpha test of a thing that Hammer is working on. Hammer is working on some amazing things. Some amazing things. What are we working on today, though? We're going to continue our work on abstract mission work. I still need to think of a brand for this. The new contract rewrite. So I can't just keep referring to it as a new contract rewrite. I float around Omni contracts. Maybe we'll call it Omni contracts. I don't really know. Speaking of Omni things, I watched a couple of episodes of, I think it's called Invincible, with the Omni-Man character. And it seems fine. I kind of just a little bit burned out on like deep takes on the superhero genre. I'm just bored of superheroes in general, I'll be perfectly honest. I think the only superhero movie that I've enjoyed in recent history was Deadpool 3, which I have watched so many times. I think we ended up watching that like 3 times in the cinema with 3 different groups of people. I really enjoyed Deadpool 3. I'm not expecting Deadpool 4 when it invariably comes out to be anything anywhere nearly as good. Okay, so we need to merge in the changes I was making here. So let's just merge this. Actually, let's update main, merge in main, and then merge in the faction changes that we've made. Interesting, we have a... Oh, okay, that's easy enough. Let's poop this over here. Radar says they think the last superhero movie they watched was Superman versus Batman. Oh no. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a conflict here because transport cost calculations now expects to have a hangar. So we're going to need to come out of this. We're going to cancel this merge. Cancel this merge. Yes, abort. And I'm going to head over to the MekHQ repository. BattleTech 3062 is reminding me that OmniMechs are terrible. Why are OmniMechs aren't terrible? Why? Okay, why are OmniMechs terrible? Because that's a take I've not heard before. OmniMechs are terrible to work on? Are they though? Because like OmniMechs are just plug and play. Like you're like, oh, today I want a medium laser in my right arm. Push out. 15 minutes later, you have a medium laser in the right arm. The fixed equipment is far more crippling, and the Omni weapon hard points are freeing. I think that's more of a potentially a BattleTech advanced limitation, because in the universe, like all non-Omni components are essentially fixed. Nice tabletop rules. The constant refits are a thing, yeah, in tabletop, but in tabletop rules, all components are fixed components unless it's an Omni pod. So I'm not entirely sure what you guys are getting at here, although it could just be a case of me not understanding. That is always possible. Okay. We're going to have a look at this because this is not going to compile. I want to see what the issue here is. Okay. So first up, we need to have a collection of units and not... That's easy enough. We can change that up. So this ceases to be a hangar and is now just going to be a collection of units. Radar says, but with Omnis, if you remove a fixed component, congratulations, you can no longer use other Omni configs. do we want to do this? I know how we can do this. List units equals new array list. There we go. And then we come down to static, which is just a list of units. Should be hanger contents now. That needs to be a collection. So what I'm doing here is PsychoMonkey made some changes, and now I'm needing to go through and fix up some callers to use the changes that PsychoMonkey made. Jump ship crew experience level. There we go. Now we're probably going to need to go ahead and should count as always 0 or whatever. We might need to update some tests now. So shouldn't need that anymore. Actually, let's change this to a collection rather than a list. It's just because we can easily get a collection from a hanger rather than... Yeah, let's go with collection here. That makes things a lot smoother for what we're doing. I'm not wholly sure the syntax here, so let's just verify it. Kingmouse says, being able to quickly swap a mech from one role to another is not very valuable in my experience. I almost certainly want both roles at the same time, so I'm going to want 2 units anyway. Meanwhile, I'm stuck with whatever internal structure, engine, armor the designers came up with, meaning whatever role I do configure the OmniMech for, it'll be worse at it than a standard mech with customized internals. Might not be as bad in tabletop, I'm not as experienced with OmniMechs there. I think it comes down to how you how much you customize your units. I think that's really what it's going to come down to, because if you are limited to field refits, for example, you're going to have a much better time with. Give me a second. With OmniMechs, because you can suddenly, you're in a position to actually customize your mechs. Whereas if you're limited to rules as written, customization rules, you'll find that a lot of the refits that players use and are used to, things like, oh, we'll just slap an endo steel on it, are just straight up not possible outside of a factory setting. And sure, you can't just slap endo steel on it for an OmniMech either, but there are certainly things that are made easier from being an Omni. And it's always worth remembering that in video games, generally speaking, standard mechs are always treated like they're OmniMechs. The level of customization the video games allow, I mean. I'll just finally replace this. Now, I will say I am. Oh God, that's not quite right. I am by no means an expert. This is just the impression I've got. See if the tests are still working. Something I'd like to do at some point, I'm just working on mentally on how to handle the user experience, is actually restricting people's customization options based on the location of their unit. Because I think people would really start to feel the magnitude of some of the refits that they're doing if they can't, for example, actually proceed with the refit because they need to rent out factory space, which costs an exorbitant amount. But as I say, I've not really hashed out the user experience side of that thing, so I'm not fully sure. King Master's video games do tend to make refits much easier and faster than they should be, though they do usually add hard points as a restriction that tabletop doesn't normally have. What is the issue here? Why are these tests suddenly all fucked? Oh, I see. Do we have any more declared fields I need to update? Look like it. Let's rerun those tests. Brayla says, yeah, I've looked into renting factory space to do refits for tanks, and yeah, 2 million a week is not worth refitting a link of tanks from ICE to Fusion. Right, but that is the thing. So you are saying that the 2 million is not worth the refit, which is perfectly fine. That is a valid thing. So if you did have to pay that 2 million, you're not going to do that refit unless it's significantly boosting, which means you're going to feel the weight of the design limitations in a way you haven't previously. And I think in a way that's a good thing. And I'm just not wholly sure how to communicate it to the player, so the player doesn't spend an hour working on their refit only to discover, whoops-a-doodles, I can't even do it. Reda says, I just went, yeah, I'll just buy units that are already fusion in them. Exactly. Hi, Terrace, glad you could join us. King Miles says, gotta get yourself an Argo, have your own factory conditions. I'm sure Comstar will have no objections. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Comstar never objects to anything. They're famously willing to bend the line. Okay, let's just do a test all. Make sure these all work. The Argo was... Okay, we have to admit, while the Argo does not make sense in universe, the Argo was cool. I really like the Argo. Tyrus says Comstar will pay you to fight Comstar while interdicting you for fighting Comstar. So Tyrus ran into a bug recently where... So the way contract generation currently works is that Comstar can choose to take over a contract. I say choose to. Basically, when we generate a contract, every now and then we'll go, whoa, this employer is actually Comstar. And we'll swap Comstar in. But what we weren't doing was checking whether the enemy that was getting fought was Comstar. So Terrace ended up a scenario where Comstar was paying him to fight Comstar, and then he got a Comstar interdiction event, leading to the scenario where, as Terrace says, Comstar was paying them to fight Comstar while interdicting them for fighting Comstar. So we're just waiting for these tests to run. And I'm hoping we can get back to working on our new contract system. Terry says, also, did I catch that you want to reinforce factory conditions relevant to a refit if it's required? It's something I'm interested in doing. I'd say want, yes. Am I going to do it right away? No. And yes, it will be optional. Fox Darrow, glad you could join us. Says, just normal phone company things, nothing to see here, move along. Yes, yeah, I often forget that, you know, AT&T have a private army. Rena says, this is why I just fight pirates most of the time. No annoying telephone company. There's nothing dangerous in the northern parts of the periphery. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a feeling that the Scrotorius Bastards are going to be, like, give them some R&R in the northern reach to the periphery. You know, just to stay guard for a while. Nothing crazy. Tira said that a side effect was Comstar was also selling them Comstar gear to fight Comstar so they could salvage Comstar. Hashtag just merc things. There we go. Okay, so all the tests are passing. Post-merge fixes. And I'm actually going to boot up Discord to see if I can get a review from Psycho Monkey. Fox Arrow says, nice quiet Garrison post for a while. Enjoy the start of the next decade. What could possibly go wrong? Exactly. I think they've deserved it. Maybe not right this second, because we're busy. But I think like it could be something that we could look into. You know, maybe around 30-50 when the Scrotorius Bastards have really earned it. Oh, did I not push the merch changes? I don't think I did. I didn't. Whoopsie doodles. I'm just going to quickly send a message to Psycho Monkey. Get a review at your leisure. make. So PsychoMonkey is the developer behind the ability to split forces, and a lot of what I'm doing right now is making our lives easier so that we can pass in sub-forces. Okay, that's that done. And then we're going to go back into where we were, and we're going to now merge in the transport cost separation so that we can continue with what we're doing. Okay, get us all merged in. There we go. Okay. So instead of getting employer map, what we're going to do now is we're actually just going to say, give me a random employer. Get employer faction. Is that it? It is not. Have we not got the changes that I just made? Transport cost separation. Transport. Oh, it's not transport cost separation. Oh God, what am I talking about? It is random faction changes. This was a different thing I was working on. This is what I was working on earlier. Okay, it's got to merge in some stuff. That is correct. That is correct. That is not. And that is not. So the random faction changes I've made are specifically to allow us to fetch a random faction without needing to pass in campaign. So right now what we do to fetch a random faction, we say, hey, so an employer, for example. We say, hey, we want a random employer, and it goes okie dokie and gives us a random employer. But what's happening here? But it doesn't really have any knowledge about where in the galaxy we are outside of the campaign. So if you have a force in a different location to your main force, it's not going to factor in the secondary force. That should all be good. Okay. So we need employer factions. We need to pass in our location. So that means we need an I location. And I believe we're also going to need to pass in the date. Yes. Local date. We definitely don't need campaign. Tira says, embrace the versatility of switch forces. Yeah, exactly. Because one of the motivations for doing the new contract overhaul is specifically to take advantage location, date, and it should accept this. What are we looking for? Global employer table value. And what are we putting in? Global employer table value. Why, oh, why? Location, date. because it's called something different. Okay, there we go. There we go. Sorted. Okay, so this is now going to give us our faction employer. What are we doing here? Where's my phone?
Oh, so.
Okay, so we're going. Okay. So we're checking. Is this? Let's just revert back to. Because this doesn't make a lick of sense, which means I either need to make some Java docs or I'm doing something wrong. Oh, I see. So, if employee faction doesn't equal 9, return employee faction. Otherwise, we're going to change the next lowest. There we go. Okay, cool. Cool. So what do we have on? We have campaign for faction. Or we have current location. Okay, I don't need to pass in current location to where we were a second ago, because we already have current location. Woo, exciting. We should also have current date, I would have thought. Is it under today? It's not, but we will be. You're static. We don't want you to be static then. Local date, current date. Simples. We don't need this to do anymore because we have literally done what the to do wants. Hey, Psychotic, glad you could join us. Psychotic says, sorry I missed last stream. I had been up all night playing Cache Cleaner Simulator. And all yesterday as well. Well, so long as you're having fun, because you don't need to be here. I'll be here, and I'll be here whenever you want to be here. Definitely nobody should feel like they have to be here every day. That's my job. Okay, so it gives us our update. Updated. Brenda says, I don't feel like I have to be here. I just want to be here. Psychotic says they want to support me. Well, thank you. Thank you both of you. Psychotic says, also, I pay for ad-free here. That is definitely a benefit. And speaking of ad-free, anybody who hasn't already noticed, we have a new follower emote. So if you are enjoying the channel, consider a follow. That is the update to the Bandit emote for Shazam. And there's also the 2 new subscriber emotes, one for the Rattle Hate Republic and one for Clan Ghost Bear, whom we will be fighting shortly. Psychedelic says the new Bandit emote looks much better. Yes, it does. It also, so I got it from my artist, and when I showed it to my housemate laughed so hard that they nearly threw up. Which is perfect if you ask me. It's the Nova Bandit emote. It is. The Clan Nova Bandit. What am I doing? Okay, so I'm going to step away from the computer very, very briefly, literally a couple of minutes, and I'll be right back. I just need to quickly go and transfer some washing into the tumble dryer. As soon as I remember where there we are, back, be right back. There we go. I found the be right back button eventually. So as I say, won't be very long. Don't go anywhere. And I am back. Let's get rid of that. Radar says quick clean her desk so she can feel better about herself. My desk actually I keep pretty clean for precisely that reason. But while I was away, I also got some dog treats. Hey Tiger, do you want a treato? A treato for baby? There you go, honey. Hey Mr. Bear, you want a treat, Mr. Bear? There you go, that's a good boy. I gave him some dog jerky. Tiger, being the incredibly lazy butt that she is, didn't even get up. She just opened her mouth and waited for me to insert the treat into it. Okay, we really need to take a step back and look at what we're doing here, because I feel like we've got a lot of functions without any consistency. So we know we're picking how to pick the employer. Next up, we need to work out. We need to pick the enemy. So here, employer determination is going to give us an employer. So this is going to give us our contract employer. However, I feel like we need to expand this. So let me have a look at my copy of campaign operations. We're heading to around page 40 something. So what is our process here? First, we pick the employer. Then we negotiate terms. Oh, we need to pick the mission. So I guess all of this stuff is largely independent of who the enemy is. However, I feel like we need to add in some special handlers. So who do we want to have special handlers? I suppose first up we want Comstar. Comstar is definitely going to have some special handlers. I think we also have Word of Blake, because those are big mercenary employers, and we don't want to. And they're both groups that would issue contracts beyond their borders. So I guess, when's the Comstar Schism? Comstar Schism. Plus Comstar is in charge of the MRB. Exactly. So we know the date of the Comstar Schism. I think Comstar really is always doing meddling stuff. So I think we can always have Comstar. When does Comstar die? Okay, so here's what we do. We get the Comstar faction. So faction, Comstar equal factions, get instance, and get faction, Comstar faction code. Should be in the system. There it is. So this is going to give us the Comstar faction. And then we can go int ending year equals Comstar, get end year, and we might as well also have the start year. Int start year. Comstar, get start year. Now, there are some things I want to check. Because what I'm doing is I'm going to find Comstar themselves. Where is Comstar? And I can just find it myself, but I don't want to. Okay, we're gonna have to grab it out of the pile ourselves. So I want to double check something, specifically when Comstar was made Comstar, as opposed to being the whatever it was before. I forget off the top of my head. Comstar, yeah. Okay, so it's SL Comnet that then becomes Comstar in 2788. Shortly after the Exodus year. So oh god, I'm bouncing from the wrong place. This is the year that SL Comnet became Star. We're also going to need to get faction, word of Bob, and we should have a word of Blake. Word of Blake faction code. Seeing if there's a way to easily check is active. Oh, there we go. It's not helpful. We'll just get started and do int start. Yeah, word Blake and int. Okay. If actually just go current year, int current year equals that. And let's go ahead, break this out. Is faction operating? So how often do we want Comstar doing Comstar-y things? I think 100 seems reasonable. So one of the 100 contracts will be a Comstar thing. Private static final int Comstar employer chance. Int role equals random int role equals 0. We're going to return Comstar. We're essentially doing the same thing down here. It's going to be random int, but we're going to have word of Blake. Employer chance. Oh god, what am I doing? What am I doing? Who let me do that? Word of Blake. Word of blame. Word of blame does appear to be appropriate if you ask me. We're actually going to lower that down to 40 because Word of Blake was much more prolific in doing Word of Blake shenanigans. Okay. Is overridden employer. So there's a better way of doing this. There is an absolutely better way of doing this. Check for employer override. And we're going to want to pass in faction code, string, faction code. String faction code. There we go. Boolean use special comstar start here. So now what we need to do is current year, star faction code, chance is comstar employer chance, and it's going to be true. Special employer. And we also need to do the same for Word of Blake. Word. If special employer doesn't equal null, return special employer. Else, we're going to come down here. And we're going to have a new special employer. We're going to do the check again. Then we're breaking all of this out. We're just going to call this check for special employer. And that now is going to give us our two spec checks for special employers. We're going to have, we're going to check, are we being taken, is the contract actually being issued by Comstar? If it is, we're going to do Comstar things. If it's actually being issued by the Word of Blake, we're going to do Word of Blake things. Cool. So here's what we're going to do now. Minimize all this, and we're going to take a step back, and we're going to make a class that is going to be a bit of a god class. Now, god class is a class that does everything, which is very bad. We don't want to have a god class. But Psychic says they're off to listen to the podcast. Enjoy your podcast. The reason why we're creating a god class here is I want to just be able to have a step-by-step process that we can follow and then come back to. So this is not going to be a final class. This is specifically here just so we can kind of get a sense of how everything is coming together. So to start off, to generate a contract, we need to determine the employer. How do we do that? And what do we need for that? We need a bunch of stuff. So we need current date, campaign faction, hiring pool level, force reputation, adjust connections level, and current location. And that's going to give us our contract employer determination. That just sets up the object, however. Now what we need to do down here is public generate contract. Private final. So why am I defining this at the class level? Well, that's because the reason why we set these objects in the way we have is specifically so that we can reuse all of this information. Faction. Employer. Oh God, what am I doing? There we go. So no matter how many times we generate contracts, we could generate 1,000 contracts and it's still only going to be using the details that are here. It's going to be pretty optimized, basically. So we're not needing to instantiate this every time. We just need what we're working with. So step one, I've lost my book. There it is. Step one, we generate who is our employer. Good. Now, if I go into the employer determination, we need to know contract type. Where are we defining contract type? That is from the faction, okay. Oh, hi, Mr. Bear. The Bear is voicing his opinions. Okay, so we've generated the employer. Next, we need to determine the mission. Well, this is something we've already done. So we need to create a mission objective type determination. I'm going to call this objective type determination. And we're going to need a bunch of stuff from this. So why do we need campaign? So I see that we're fetching campaign here, but why though? Because it's pirate campaign. Because we have to add a report. I see. Okay. So what new stuff do we need to add here? So we need a campaign. I always like to have campaign up pretty high. Hiring hall, we've got that. Person negotiator, we do not have that. Employee faction, we don't have that either. Table value. Oh, that's something we don't have. So this actually can't be initiated at a class level because this has to come down here. So let's copy over all the values that we need. So if we need a campaign down here, we might as well actually put it up here. Private, final, campaign. And then we'll pass this into the class, because we're going to need to initialize the class. This Campaigno equals Campaigno. Now the good thing about Campaigno is it actually allows us to get current date as well. There's other information the campaign contains, such as I'm not entirely sure what it's for. Oh, it's because we've got this campaign faction. Force reputation modifier, we should be able to fetch that from campaign, but yeah, so that should come from campaign. Oh, current data, yeah. So this force reputation. I see your question there, Seeker 10,000. I will get to you in a moment. So Seeker 10,000 asks, hey, in the past you've suggested me writing up a request on GitHub. What would that entail and what should I include in terms of details? So that's going to really come down to what kind of request you're, well, requesting, and kind of what feature you're looking to have added. Basically, you need to add as much information as you can to communicate what you're wanting. So if it's If it's just a case of, oh, this word says cheese, but I wish it actually said hamburger, you just write, this word found here equals cheese, but I'd actually like it to work I'd like it actually equal hamburger. Here's why. So it comes down to what the problem is, how you want it changed. Seeker 10,000 also asks, one of the big limitations of Java, since I don't want to suggest stuff that would be impossible. Don't worry about that. That's an us problem, not a you problem. Current location is something that we won't want to have. We'll need to populate that multiple times. Employer table value. These will be different based on each contract. I kind of feel like negotiator will be as well. Yeah. But yeah, don't worry about whether something can be done, because that is very much my problem. You just tell us what you want to see done. So we need campaign. We need hiring pool, which absolutely can be a class level because we're going to be using it in multiple places. Secret Investment says, I think it'd be cool if the op4 for a contract would be tracked on an individual unit basis with their own experience, morale, and equipment levels. So that's what's referred to as persistent op4. I can tell you right now there is no point in putting that request in. Persistent op4 has been something that people have been wanting for decades. Right now, it is in a better place than ever for us to be able to add that, but we're still not there. There's still many, many things that we need to do code-wise before that's even conceivable. The way things are right now, we simply do not have the technology to do that. But I will say we're much closer now to having that technology than we were 2 years ago. It is something that we are very, very aware of that the player base wants. Yeah, no, persistent on 4. We know you guys want persistent on 4. You've been persistently telling us it for about 2 decades. Okay, campaign, hiring hall. We're going to need to have a negotiator. employer faction. We need employer table value. Okay. So that allows us to get the employer faction. Where are we getting the table value? Okay, this is where we're getting it. So we need to make these to class level accessible. How do we do this? Let's make another record. Employer faction selection. And in this record, we want faction, employer, faction. We also want global employer table value, and we also want independent. So here, or more specifically here, what we're going to do is, rather than returning the employer faction, employer faction, we're going to return global employer type. Let's remind me what values we have here. And what is... I guess minor power would probably be accurate for both. Seeker10,000 says, how does MekHQ interact with the force generator? Basically, when MekHQ asks for a hostile force, what system's called one? A lot of systems. It really wouldn't be feasible for me to walk you through the entire process. There is a lot of interaction that goes on between the force generator, MekHQ. It's a very, very complicated system. If what you're trying to do is figure out a way to do persistent op4, I'm going to tell you just to stop. I'm really, and this isn't me being grumpy or anything. It's just that, like, I promise you, persistent op4 discussions have been going on for about 15 years. You're not going to bring anything new to the table. There's nothing that you can suggest that we've not already thought of. We are aware the community really wants a persistent op4. It is something that we are aware of. It is something that we are actively considering, but it is something where we can't just do a duct tape fix. This is such an important feature that it would need someone to make it a fully fledged feature, not just something that pretends to be persistent op4 or anything else like that. So So yeah, there really isn't anybody who isn't a developer that could suggest that hasn't been suggested before. And even amongst us developers, we know how we need to do it. We know what steps need to be taken to get there. It's just that the steps that need to be taken to get there are very long and very involved and very technologically intensive. And right now, if you can kind of imagine that position up 4 is a lock, we're in the process of creating the keys need to unlock that lock. Second person says, I was asking because one of my impetus for working on unit availability was MekHQ. So this really isn't something that a stream is a good vehicle for a highly technical discussion. The method, the single method, not class, single method that handles op4 generation is about 3,000 or 4,000 lines long. If you want to talk technical stuff regarding the force generator, you're better off talking to Gorsman. I'll type their name in the chat because they're our data person. All availability stuff and how the availability is interacted with is handled by Dick Gorsman. I am just a humble code monkey. And I just want to clarify, I'm not just fobbing you up on someone else because I don't want to have the conversation. It is just that, like, you were talking about some of the most complicated processes within MekHQ, and I really just don't have the capacity to go through this incredibly detailed and technical discussion on stream. Seeker says, I understand. Okay, I'm glad you understand, because I don't want you feeling like I'm just fobbing you off. It's just, yeah, Twitch streams are not a good place to have highly technical conversations. I'm just going to go and double check what we rate Comstar and Weller Blake as. Oh, but we marked them as major. Okay. Well, that's easily done. Okay, so that's going to give us all the values that we need. Okay, we then pass that up. We're actually going to hit a brick here. Okay. So we actually need to add some checks. We can't just add major power here. We need to actually figure out how we're classifying. Employee table value. How are we using independent? Bingo. That's kind of what we need. Not quite. So this faction type. Speaker says there should be a class for, I can't pronounce a word, but groups that might hire you, of course, is related to employer stuff. There is. That was handled a couple of days ago. Oh, I have just heard my tumble dryer going off, and it will just keep going off if I don't go and correct it, so be right back. And I am back. So Seeker 10,000 says, I think it would be cool if contracts could have extra clauses that would somehow change a player's approach to a contract. I agree. Our goal right now is we are very deliberately keeping to rules as written campaign operations. Once we have the rules as written down, and we know, hey, this works, this is rules as written, it follows the process that needs to be followed, fantastic. Then we're empowered to go in and start doing stuff that isn't rules as written. But really, we just need to get rules as written right first. The reason we have to go about it this way is because it means that we have a very narrow scope. If we're trying to make this amazing whole new system that's going to do everything everybody ever wanted and just all the bells and whistles, we'd be at this for months and we wouldn't even know if it worked properly. So we get the minimum viable product, which is, in my opinion, the rules as written campaign operations contract generation. Once we have that down, then we can go in and we can do the really cool stuff. Radar correctly says narrow scope keeps the feature creep at bay. It does, yes. Okay. There we go, that's that sorted. So now we're going to get a employer faction selection. And that's going to give us an employee faction. Get faction. It's also going to give us the global and the independent. Oh, I see why. There we go. So down here, the only thing we're missing at this point is the negotiator. So let's pass in a negotiator. It's mission objective type determination. Objective type. Seeker says, when it comes to BattleTech, how much changes between reprints? Because it's not like there's a clear delineation between editions like 50k. Yeah, that's true. Like we do have to be careful of that. It's why I always need to be making sure I'm working off the most recent printing. What I'm wondering is, how are we using the negotiator here? We're using a negotiator to get the connections. Okay. Where are we using connections? You'd think I'd remember all this. I literally just did it a couple of days ago. Okay, so that's determined the mission role. Okay. If that's the case, why do we need adjusted connections? We don't. So I guess we go get objectives. And I guess we just return this. So now we have our employer and we have our objective. What's next in CamOps? So now we're at negotiating terms. Okay. Okay, so base payment is what we need to know next. Money equals base payment. And this is what we were actually working on yesterday. So get rid of all this, don't care about this anymore. Contract objective pay. Why are you broken? Because you now need to be a collection of units. Okay, here we are. So, I feel like most of this can probably become class level. Aristrati says, "Happy Friday! Happy Friday to you too." I am looking forward for this evening. With the Scritorious Bastards being just over 3 years away from the clan invasion, things are going to start getting interesting, I suspect. No. This is wrong. Why are we doing this? This is a bad way of doing it. Okay, so we need to calculate base pay for hangar. Is that true? Can we get away with peacetime operating costs needs hangar? Okay, we can do that. Strazi says, "In the immortal words of my teenage daughter, thou art turbo screwed." Yes, it's gonna be fantastic. Okay, so base pay isn't going anywhere. So can this just be a static? No, because we want these to be at the class level. Okay. This is where we were running into problems last time. I see. Because then we hit a point where we needed to start thinking about a whole bunch of other stuff. So we know what our objectives types are. That means now we know our objective type, we now need to determine who the enemy is. Okay. So how the fuck do we do that? Okay, so if it's riot, then we're going to have special clauses. So let's we've got contract employer determination. Now we need contract. No. objective enemy determination. Because we can have different enemies based on the objective. Random faction generator. No, random faction generator. Get instance. Can we? Is it as simple as just doing this? Get. The answer is no, because I'm doing it in the wrong place. Whoops. Get enemy. There we go. Okay, now let's have a look-ski at how get enemy works. So I'm very interested. Use rebels, use mercs. Okay. All of this needs to be rewritten. Build a map of potential enemies key to a cumulative weight. Okay. Okay, I'm going to handle get enemy later. For now, we're just gonna string. Let's go faction, campaign faction. No employer faction. We're also going to need to have abstract contract objective. If objective okay, so now we're getting again. Now we're actually getting to expand abstract contract objective. So ATB contract type, objective type. So we need to get a getter and setter for that. So let's get our objective type. So objective determination is super easy if it's a riot, because we just return factions, get faction, I'll get instance, get faction, and then okay, if the objective type is pirate hunting, then we're going to return pirates. Yar. What else? Radar says night battles get a bit annoying when searchlights are broken. Yeah. Okay, so that covers that. Our next thing is we need to find out, does the faction allow mercenaries? Which largely is if employer faction is clan, piss off, is clan, then Boolean allows mercenaries. So to my knowledge, the clans are the only ones that don't use mercenaries. However, there are some exceptions. So let's go to faction. Let's actually make some faction changes. Let's go to faction 2. We need to add a Boolean. Private Boolean uses mercenaries. I'm going to add in the default of true. Public Boolean uses mercenaries. Int yeah. Okay, that should work. So now we need to go and add in our new is mercenaries field. Because I remember where data is. There it is. So basically we're going to need to go in and add some values to the clan factions. Now the good thing is that the clan factions are pretty easy to find. Find something has a name change. Clan and Diamond Sharky have a name change. There we go. Should work. Now I know the Alatan Mercantile Guild will use some of these clans are going to get access to mercenaries later in the timeline, but we're just adding the ones that won't first, and then we're going to come back and backfill. Because the assumption is, unless your data explicitly says you do not hire mercenaries, which is basically true for 95% of all the clans, you're going to hire mercenaries. Secret 10,000 says, is the Draconis Combine set up to during the Death to Mercenaries period to be unavailable as an employer? They are not, but they make absolutely terrible employers during that period. Because whilst the Death to Mercenaries edict did go out, it was not totalitarian. Like, the coordinator said, hey, no mercenaries, but there are plenty of examples of nobles and similar hiring mercenaries during that period. It is basically what we do in MekHQ is we make it so that the Draconis Combine just has terrible clauses during that era. And it actually takes, like, even after the Death to Mercenaries edict is over, it takes a while for the Draconis Combine to return to normal operating procedures. So now that we've got that handled, we know that we have a couple of special cases. That we need to account for. So heading back up here, and we're going to go to... Where's the employee termination? There it is. Okay, so Clan Seafox starts using mercenaries pretty early on. That is wrong, that should be that. My faction's gone. So, Clan Seafox, where art thou? The other Clan Diamond Shark. There we go. The Mercantile will always use mercenaries. And got Clan Wolf start using mercenaries in 31, 51 with the Battle of Terror. And that should handle our clan shenanigans. Which also means we no longer need to do these because we can actually have it handled in code, which is the best way of doing it rather than hard coding. So if the action is clan, if selects a random employer. Okay, that's good to know. So this should be used by mercenaries. We don't want... So this is the thing. We do not want Boolean is mercenary campaign. The reason why we're checking for mercenaries is we also use this method of finding employers for, air quotes, employers for pirate campaigns. So, if is mercenary campaign and faction is users. Give me a second, we need to add something to... Where's faction 2 gone? There we go. So what we've done now is we're basically, rather than having a hard-coded system, we're now explicitly checking. Where are we using this? Okay, what's the next problem? Oh, that's right. Okay. So we have now got to go back to one of our enums. This is so like mentally intensive. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm basically having to spin so many plates at once. Okay, so oh. Okay, so now we actually have a way to fetch the data we need. So let's see what else is going wrong in the code base now. Because it seems we've got objective enemy determination is now throwing a wobbly. So riot duty. Okay, so this can just go away for now. I think. Probably. Because I think this I suspect is going to be a static class. So, Hoya faction uses mercenaries in year of our lord, whatever the game year is. Int, and it's local date. So if it's riot duty, we're just going to return rebels. If it's pirate hunting, we're just going to return pirate faction code. If it's mercenaries, we're going to pass in this. No, if it's mercenaries, we're going to do a... How are we getting an enemy here? Because we're going to change all this. This is just crap. Private static final int mercenary enemy chats equals probably 1 in 20 seems reasonable. Oh, because we don't want to have you fighting mercenaries constantly. And this is something we can add in as a campaign option as well. If allows mercenaries, int roll equals random int. If roll equals 0, we are going to return actions mercenary. So this includes our early exits. Oh, I see why we couldn't just do that earlier, because we're using as mercenaries down here, which we're going to get rid of. Fuck it, we can do it ourselves. Faction, special faction, let's get special faction. Employer faction, objective and current. This special faction isn't even know, we're going to return that. Oh, waffle, waffle, waffle. So we're going to come in here, we're going to see, hey, is this, are we just using a special faction here? If we are, we're just going to return special faction. So the special faction in this case can be rebels, pirates, or mercenaries. we are going to do a little bit of finagling. String equals pirate faction code. That's going to be employer faction is clan. Do we have bandit cast already done? We don't. We should do. And this is going to change it. You're pirate hunting. Cool. That's great. If you are being employed by a clan faction, then you're hunting the bandit caste. Otherwise, you're hunting pirates. Do we want to do it like that? No, we can actually do this a special way. So we're going to come back up here. Pop this down here for now. Faction enemy equals. Okay, let's just rewrite this. So we're going to create a replacement version. No, how do I want to do this? I guess we can duplicate this. No, we'll do this later. Sorry that I keep with waffling here. I'm kind of oscillating between a couple of different options. If objective type, rather in this case objective, if objective is pirate hunting, get type is pirate hunting, then we're going to come down here and ask, is the enemy faction clan? There we go. So now what this means is if you are in an area of space that is clan territory, you're going to fight the bandit caste. Whereas if you are in an area of space that is Innisphere territory, you're going to have the pirates instead. And this is going to stop a scenario where you're in the middle of Innisphere territory and suddenly the bandit caste are turned up for no apparent reason. Okay, so now we have our enemy faction. And what I want to do before I commit this, I want to get MekHQ running. It's going to take a couple of moments to build the data files, so I'm going to step away from the computer very briefly. Won't be more than a couple of moments. And I am back. Okay, our data still hasn't finished, but that's okay, because there's some other things I want to do here. Now, one of the problems with the get enemy is that, actually, no, we can handle that later. We're going to definitely need to update get enemy. Main reason being is that it just straight up, itching myself here, it just straight up doesn't fetch so many different types of faction, and we really need to kind of fix that basically. But for now, we just want to see if our data's loading so that we can make sure that the changes we made to faction aren't dead. But having got ourselves the enemy determination, we can now switch over to our god class. we can go, okay, well, we know what objective we've got. We know what map faction. Oh, actually, no, what we need to do, go back to enemy determination. And we need, where is it? I created a campaign type. There we go. Campaign type for contract determination. Let's call it campaign type. And the reason why we need this is basically, we can actually just do it this way. Boolean is pirate campaign. Hi, Bandit. Bandit's come over to say hello. You can say hello to the people, Bandit? Yeah, Bandit decided to sneak into the office when I was out refilling my water. Seeker 10,000 says they wish they would do another BattleTech comic series. I want another BattleTech animated series. But yeah, if you folks want to show your Bandit support, use your Bandit emotes now. I will show my Bandit support. There we go. But yeah, the little buddy decided that he wanted to hang out with us, and it's definitely not because it's really warm outside and I have a fan running in my office at all times. He does like sleeping in front of the fan, which is really, really sweet for him, but it means his fur gets blown all over my room. He's still sulking that his desk bed isn't here anymore. Okay, because if we are a pirate campaign, no, we can actually do this switch elsewhere. So let's go back to our god class. We do the pirate campaign switch here. So we get the objective type, and then we're going to need to make a map of ATB contract types. No, because what if we have two contract types the same? No, what we need to do now is we actually need to make a new contract, abstract, objective. Okay, so we can't actually initialize this yet. So we need to make a extension. Call this advanced contract objective. Normal contract objective. And that is going to extend abstract. There we go. I've lost myself. There we are. And this is actually going to need to be done once per. So for objective and objective type, we need to create a contract type objective. And we need to pick our enemy. So faction objective enemy equals objective enemy determination, generate enemy faction for objective, and for this we need employ faction. We can make this neater. Faction, employer, faction. If we take this up out of here, we only need to pass it once. What else do we need? We need the actual objective. We can provide that easy enough. And lastly, we need to know the current date, which we should have earlier. Yes, we do. Interesting. This should be ATB contract type, and we're going to call this objective type, rather than passing in the whole ass objective object, which is self-defeating. Not entirely sure why I did it like that, but that was done, and now it's good. So let's see. So what we've gone ahead and done is we now have ourselves the enemy for the objective. However, if we're a pirate, things get a little bit differently. So we have campaign faction. Boolean is pirate campaign. So the reason why we need to pass in campaign type instead of just campaign faction is because pirates can actually look for mercenary work. The way CamOps is set up, if the target is pirate, then if the campaign is a pirate campaign and we're looking for pirate contracts, when you generate the employer, you're actually generating the target. So the objective enemy actually becomes employer faction, and employer faction actually becomes pirate. Get enemy faction. We are actually going to run it return faction. That means now we need to head over to our abstract and we need to add faction. And we're going to store it as a faction code rather than a faction, just because that makes it easier to store and retrieve. Generate ourselves some setters and getters. also going to want to be able to get public faction, get enemy faction, factions, get instance, get faction, enemy faction code. Now this can return null. Because if we fail to get the faction from the array of from the map of faction, whatever it is, the stored factions, it's going to return null. So we need to be aware that I can return null. And we're also going to add a overload here. So rather than entering the enemy faction code, we can enter the enemy faction. There we go. So now we can get and we can set the enemy faction. I think I'm going to sneeze 1 second. Don't know if I hit the mute button in time now. I do apologize if I just blew into your ears. If enemy faction equals null, faction, enemy faction equals null. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to add an explicit fallback. So if enemy faction equals null, we are going to return factions, get instance, get faction, and we're going to actually return rebels. Now what we need to do here though is we do need to log this. Do we have a logger already on the class? We don't, so we're going to make one. So let's just make it into one class. No, I didn't. Okay, good. Logger born failed to fetch random enemy faction employer code returning rebels. So this is just going to see if basically how this is going to work is we're going to check to see if we can. It's like we're starting to. Sorry, I do apologize. Let me start again. So first we're going to come into this method and we're going to say, hey, are we a pirate campaign? And if we are, we're just going to return our employer, and that's due to a weird thing in how campaign operations works. If we're not a pirate faction, we're then going to get ourselves a random enemy faction. However, this should be nullable. Because this here can return null. So this entire class method rather is nullable. So we need to make that marked. So that does turn out to be null. We're now going to come down and say, hey, we didn't get a faction, so we're just going to generate some rebels. And if we did generate a faction, we're going to return that faction. So this all should be moved out of here. And where do we have enemy? There we go. This should live in here instead. Boolean is pirate main type. No, we're actually going to enforce this. So rather than because if we put it in just is campaign type, it's gonna be very easy for another developer to think, hey, is this a pirate campaign? Oh, easy peasy, is pirate campaign done. Whereas if we enforce this by saying you have to pass in this type of class, it makes sure that we are definitely passing in the right stuff. Okay, it looks like we're doing this as a stat class, so let's make this static. I don't feel like we need to make it public. Same here. We can just make it package private. And if we need to make it public later, we can. Heckendoc, hey Heckendoc, glad you could join us. Heckendoc says, more contracts, I hope the stream is going well today. It's going pretty well, we're making a lot of progress. Let me have some water and I'll give you a more full answer. There we go. So, the problem we're having, and it's not so much a problem, it's just an aspect. So the aspect we're experiencing is that it's basically, what am I doing here? Am I doing this right? I don't think I am. Give me a second. Generate contract. It's employer faction. Yeah, this isn't right. If campaign type. There we go. So the problem that we're having is that everything is so multifaceted. There's a lot of what feels like swimming in place. So we are making progress, but it doesn't feel like we're making progress. And this is something I knew we'd end up suffering from when I went into this. It's just a bit of a pain in the butt. Like, if you look at the amount of classes that we made, everything you see on the left-hand side of the screen right now is a new class. So we are very clearly writing code. We're very clearly making progress. It just doesn't feel like it because we're not able to get anything to show for it. Actually, we need to add a age reference there. So that is going to be ChemOps page 39 revised 50. Oh. Why are... Because employer could be null. Why can employer be null? Are we potentially passing a null employer into here? So this can't be null unless we're changing it, which we are. Oh wait, no, no, we're not. MekHQ says they can imagine the hard work. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's gonna be really freaking good once it's done. So okay, we now have our objective, we have our enemy faction. Now what we need to do is determine our location. And right now, for just pure simplicity's sake, we can't do having contracts at different objectives at different locations yet. But what we can do is have follow-on contracts. How the fuck do we want to do that? Okay, let's think about this. So we have get objectives, and that's going to return a list of ATB contract types. And these are consecutive contracts right now, because under CamOps we don't have simultaneous contracts, but we do have consecutive contracts. So now we need to figure out how we can pick Oh, that's right, we were seeing if MekHQ broke. Cool, let's see if MekHQ breaks. I forgot we were doing that. So what we're doing here is we're testing the data specifically. I want to make sure that our changes to factions doesn't have cascading negative effects. Okay, so yeah, we are getting problems. And I really don't want to have to go through every faction and manually add this value to it. So let's have a look. Where are we actually running into this error? (555). Okay. Is used mercenaries in faction 2, Java 555. Factions 2 doesn't go up to 555. Because there's 2 faction 2s. Okay. Why is there 2 faction 2s? Oh, I was looking at factions 2, not faction 2. Okay, there we go. Okay, 555. Okay. If uses mercenaries. No. Return. True. Hey youngster, glad you could join us. The youngster says, I haven't been able to catch up a lot of this work on contracts that have been on days this week. Biting into the first bit of the stream, but I'm really excited to see how they work. It's gonna be really, really cool once it's all done. But right now we are in a very much a scenario where we just got a pile of Lego and we're starting to put together some of the pieces of Lego, but we have like 20 bags to go. But I will say, like, for all of my moaning, this is a really interesting project. Also, if you are listening to the stream and you haven't already, please consider giving us a follow so you can get notified of when we go live. If you're really enjoying yourself, there's the subscribe button, though never feel like you have to. If you want to hang out with us after stream, there's a link down in the place where links live, where you can join our Discord. We actually have a vote going on at the moment asking whether we should use stack polling in I just noticed that the youngster, but where we should use stack polling in our ongoing MekHQ campaign. And the youngster, thank you so much for the gift subs. Thank you. And it's actually taken us to our target of 10 gift subs for however long the period goes. We even have a is that a hype train? Yes, we have a hype train. Yay! So you too could get emotes that you can use to enjoy yourself. I'm so bad at this, but thank you so much, youngster, for your generosity. You've actually gifted a total of 20 gift subs in your time here, and I really do appreciate you. Thank you. Youngster says, got to upgrade the computer. Yes, we do. Dear God, we do. So it looks like everything loaded that time. Good. So that should be fine. Where the devil were we? We were about to figure out where the bloody hell this contract takes place. So, with that in mind, let's have a look. How does ATB monthly contract market do it? Contract get system. Okay. How are we setting system? Random faction generator, get instance, get mission target. Okie dokie then, that's pretty easy. I suspect it won't be. I suspect that's only the beginning of it. Okay, so first up we need employer code, because apparently we can't string. Well, no, I want factions. I want to deal with factions here. Faction, employer, faction enemy. And maybe for now, the employer is the enemy. String employer code. Thank you so much for the cheer there, Pathstrider. Thank you. And for anybody who has been enjoying the new bandit emote, which I will happily splat into channel here, the brand new Clan Nova bandit, Pathstrider Art is actually the person who drew that for us. So everybody give a big thank you to Pathstrider Art, and make sure to show off your Clan Nova bandit pride. I love seeing all the little bandits. That emo brings me up with so much joy. Oh, and I should say, those of you who received gift subs from the youngster, if you check your emotes, you will now have access to the new Rasselhague Republic and Clan Ghost Bear icons, so enjoy those. Oh god, it's this. Okay, so we're going to need to come in and rewrite all of this. Oh, it looks like the hype train is over. Let's see what we get. Ah, yes, I finally got the food. Okay, thank you, youngster, because I finally got the emote that represents me preparing for a stream. So the half an hour in the pre-roll for the stream is usually consisting of me eating my lunch as quickly as I can. So thank you very much again, youngster, for the hype train, and to everybody else who has contributed to the channel, no matter how big or how small. I really do appreciate all of you. Okay, so we're having a very, very basic generate mission contract location for now. The intention is we're going to come back and make it better later. So I feel like an enemy faction is actually going to be... how do we want to do this? I guess we go... contract type, first objective. And it's going to tell us we can do get first, which is new with Java 21. In contract location. It looks like we've got about an hour and a bit left on stream, so hopefully we can get some more of this done. So now we're going to have employer, enemy, location. I guess at this point we now need to find out how long it's going to take to get from point A to point B. And that's going to bring us into creating a jump path. And for that, bring target location. Seeing it as a way we can easily specify what planet. Aha, calculate jump path. So that's planetary system start, it's planetary system end, but what if I want to go to a specific planet? Why is it not? What I'm trying to see here now is I'm trying to work out how I can make a jump path from planet A to planet B rather than system A to system B. Dilly dum dum dum. Jump path, recharge time. So this is just planetary systems. Oh, I see. I see. So we're going to need to path from current location to target planetary system. And jump path. Aha! Oh no, Psychotic's power just blinked, hopefully. It won't be an issue. Okay, so now we have our jump path. I want to cache this. Cache in contract. So we want to cache this because it's going to be quite expensive to run this every time we generate a contract, and we don't want every time the player interacts with it to for us to need to recalculate the entire route. Okay, so now we have employer, we have objective, and we have jump path. Now we can start calculating some of the math, some of the finances that we've been struggling with. And again, this God class is not going to remain like how it is. This is purely just so we can see the flow a little bit better. So if I head back over to my, what's the word? Calm brain. Campaign operations. And let's have a look. How do we work out pay? So we know what base pay is. Base pay is easy. And base pay is going to be based on the objective. So money is going to be base pay. We should have a sexy little method thing that will already do that. No, determining contract objective pay. We're handling this differently. Okay. So that is a heap of stuff. What do we need spare parts for? Transport pay, okay. Transport pay. I don't like how this is set up. I feel like this could be set up better. I'm going to get rid of these. And we're going to make these class level. Yes, that's what we're going to do. So the reason why we're doing this is we want to be able to access this information from anywhere. And what I want to be able to do is just instantiate the class once and then reuse all of this. Whereas right now we would need to instantiate the class every time, and there's better ways of doing it. Much, much better. There we go. So, should mean we no longer need any of these. Hey Hammer, glad you could join us today. I think I'm going to put my book down for just a couple of moments and just chill, because we've been at this for 4 hours solid. 3 hours? 3 hours solid, and my brain's starting to turn into Swiss cheese. Oh, I'm sorry your power outage lost you some progress, Psychotic. Hopefully it'll be back soon. Okay, so we calculate the base pay. Then calculate length of mission. The length of mission contract terms table, not transport, length of mission. Avoid calculate length of mission. Okay. Okay, we're on page 41 of campaign operations. The master contract table reflects the mission's typical base duration. After determining this duration, add the time needed for the force to redeploy to the mission site. Unless the mission is on the same planet, deployment time is calculated as 2 weeks plus 1.5 or 1.1 weeks per jump to reach the site of the mission. And then multiply by 2 to calculate the round trip tap time. Divide the total number of transit weeks by 4 and round up to the nearest whole number to determine the number of transit months for the mission. The default number of jumps is calculated by blah 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 blah. The final length of the contract is a major factor in calculating payment and forces expenses, as it multiplied by the forces base payment and multipliers discussed below. Finally, the length of the mission period and transport period should be noted separately. Some reimbursement calculations should only apply to the length of the mission, not the period in which a force is moving to the mission site. What does this mean? What does it mean? Mason, what do the numbers mean? Okay, so we need to work out the length of the mission. So for this, we're going to need our jump path. Cool. Get jumps. We also need current location. So we need... Actually, we can do something better. So start system, end system. Get last system. System. So first, we're going to find out: are we on the are we actually even changing system? If start system equals end system, Boolean is in same system. Oh, hi Bandit. Bandit, you can't sit on my book, my little man. I need that for reading. You go, but you can have my lap, but you can't have my book. So now I'm having to juggle Mr. Bandit and my book. Unless the mission is on the same planet, deployment time is calculated as 2 weeks. Int base weeks 2. Plus 1.1 weeks per jump to reach the site of the mission. Additional weeks. 0.1 times jump path, get jumps. Aristrati says, got this good for it, and much love. We'll take Aristrati and definitely make sure to join us tonight for the Scrotorious Bastards. And then we multiply it by 2. Int multiplier 2. Divide the number of transit weeks by 4 and round up to the whole number to determine the number of transit months for the mission. So int transit months equals base weeks plus additional weeks multiplied by multiplier. Then we need to round the entire value that's going to give us our transit months. Okay. Cool. Okay, so that gives us our... Oh. So this is actually only if it's not in the same system, because if it's in the same system, we're just going to return 0. Because you ain't transiting. Okay. We can work with that. We should make a note of this. The calculation in this method is taken from CamOps page 41 in revised 5th. So now we have the length of the mission. We're actually making some real progress now. So now we need the operations tempo. This is a basic multiplier of the peacetime operating cost for the anticipated level of risk and effort a force must put into a mission. The multiplier is found in the master contract terms table. There are a couple of modifiers applied to the operations tempo multiplier, high risk and covert operation. A high risk mission is one where the opposing force have significantly more firepower than the player's force and any NPC's forces it's working with. While the final judgment is up to the GM if present, or agreement of the players, the rule of thumb is that if the battle value of the opposing force is more than double the player's force, then the mission is high risk. Covert operation is one where the employer is not publicly associated with the player's force, rescue, ransom, and aid are not likely, and it is a contract breach for the force to reveal its employer. In many cases, this entails keeping the identity of the force hidden too. Reimbursement code, okay, so we'll deal with that later. So we need to come back to peacetime operating costs. Why are you airing out here? Alright, I added final twice. Whoops. So where are we using peacetime operating costs? Calculate peacetime operating costs. Now we also need to add in objective stuff. I know that we made something, we made a record the other day. I could have sworn we made a record to hold all of this stuff. Modifier data. Negotiations modifier data, there we go. Okay, so the reason why we need negotiations modifier is we need to get the tempo. So double tempo multiplier. Change this to just being double tempo multiplier. Okay, so we're now taking into account the peacetime operating costs, the tempo. Employer multiplier. Certain employers pay more than others and some pay less. This generally depends on how wealthy and powerful the nation is. Which actually we don't, this is a mistake. We shouldn't be applying it here. because this should all be applied later. Okay, reputation factor. Well, we've already got that, that's fine. Transportation payment. Where are we using spare parts? Should the employer pay to transport all your spare parts? Yeah, I mean, they have for now. We can take it in for now. So we've already got transport payment covered. Support payment. Okay, we're making real progress now. Okay, support payment is on page 44. Support denotes how much the force's support operations cost the employer will reimburse above and beyond the peacetime operating costs. Support costs include the cost of replacement parts and material, as well as outside technical assistance. Customarily, employers offer either straight support or battle loss compensation. The level of support is rolled from the supplemental contract terms table. Under straight support arrangement, the employer agrees to pay a percentage of the command's monthly peacetime operating expenses as a bonus for the period of the mission. Okay, so when is this determined? Okay, so this is actually determined at contract negotiation. With battle loss compensation arrangement, the employer agrees to cover a percentage of the cost of repairing or replacing command's battlefield losses and damage. Customarily, the employer is required to compensate the force within 6 months of the date of loss. This compensation is cumulative, so if a particular piece of equipment is destroyed and replaced 4 times over the course of several battles, the employer might owe a percentage of 4 replacements. The employer can report it, but it's a breach of contract. So I don't think we need to bring in the support payment now. I think this is something that will be handled monthly. So for that, we would just calculate peacetime operating costs and then roll out as necessary. Okay. So now we've got all these different methods for calculating contract pay. We have peacetime operating costs, the base cost of combat units. I would have thought that would be. Okay, so that just gives us base pay. Then it's length of mission. Public money. Get total pay. So. Base payment times length of mission times operation tempo times employer factor times reputation factor, plus a bunch of other stuff. So we have money, total pay. It's going to be money of 0. And it's going to be plus base pay multiplied by length of mission, which we have as transit months. No, we don't. We're not calculating length of mission. We're just calculating transit months. We need to add in length of mission. Let me just have a quick look at the length of mission, so I've forgotten how to calculate that. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is referred to as the transport period. Transport period. This is length of mission. Private final int. Int. This is going to be total. Hi, Bandit. Okay, so final payment. Where have I gone? Lost it. Final payment is going to be 0 plus base pay plus multiplied by total length multiplied by employer factor. Don't have okay. Base payment times length of mission times operation tempo times employment factor times reputation factor. Okay. So we're going to call this first. In the second half, money, second half. The base payment. times transport period multiplied by employer factor again. Reputation factor a second time. Support payment. Well, support payment we handle on a monthly basis. Plus transport. And return first half versus second half. And that gives us our total pay. Okay, so we can break this up further. But we want to get objective pay, and then this becomes travel pay. So the reason why we need that separately is because why is base pay getting transferred? Length of mission, not. There we go. So storage captures again, base pay. Okay, so you have base pay multiplied by length of mission, multiplied by operations tempo. We're missing operations tempo. Employment factor and reputation factor. Now, you might be thinking, God damn, there's a lot of parameters, and it is. Most of them won't stay. I'm going to be doing a lot of refactoring. That looks all good. So that now gives us pay calculations. How about we cache objective pay? No, because these values are not, this is just a calculator, it's not a storage. I need to remember that the whole purpose of this is just to calculate. In which case, these are not necessary. So we head back to our god class. We need to work out what the base pay is. Money, base. No, I'm getting close to being done today. I can tell it in my bones. Let's leave this off for now. Yeah, no, I can tell. I've just hit the point now where we've been working on this all day, and my brain is starting to collapse in on itself. And that means that we're potentially pushing a little bit too hard. So I'm just gonna think we're gonna wind down and have a quick check of That's if we can easily pick this up on Monday. Yeah, exactly. Let's head over to Discord. I'm heading to the. Oh, cool. So I'm gonna head over to Discord and see if you can spot the problem once we're not in the void. So we have, I've updated our Discord so that we can, I don't have to remember to do this, like to announce when episodes become available, like myself manually. And so we've got Stream Cord all set up and it's telling us that the VOD ship has landed, but not a link to the VOD. So let's go to Stream Cord and it's going to go to our dashboard and fix this. So let's go to where we got this now. I saw that the Twitch stream worked. But I'm struggling to see how to show I could have sworn, like on, what I was hoping for is that it would automatically fetch the link for the video. It very clearly hasn't. So, oh, what a waste of my effort. I'll need to look into that after stream, I think. But in the meantime, I can very quickly head over to my channel and link you guys the new hotness. There. Get rid of my own voice. Gross. I'll figure that out later. But what I wanted to do was I want to have a look at our poll. So we've got 9 votes on the should we enable stack polling in the Scrotorious Bastards campaign. And last time I checked it, it was 4 yes, 4 no. So if you're listening and you want to get involved, I can see we've got quite a few of you hiding in the woodwork and haven't joined the Scrotorious Bastards, or I suppose the IllianiDev Discord. You'll find the link in the place where Discords live. If you have an opinion on whether we should enable stack polling in the Scrotorious Bastards, now's the time to make your voice known. Right now, it is 5 no's and to 4 yeses. So if I were to launch the Scrotorious Bastards now, It's only going to be it's going to be no stack polling. So if you really want to see stack polling, or if you really don't want to see stack polling, join the Discord, make your vote heard. Okay, well, it is 20 minutes until the scheduled ending of the stream. Psychedelic asks, explain what stack polling is. So let's head over to back into IntelliJ. Stack polling, well, Michael Stackpole is the name of one of the authors of a lot of BattleTech novels back in the day. And like all the famous BattleTech novels were basically written by Stackpole for the most part. But he had a propensity for making the mechs have fusion breaches and have a massive explosion, which in real life doesn't happen, but people like big explosions, and so the rule got referred to as stack polling. And so stack polling is, and when you destroy a mech, sometimes this engine can go critical and make a really big explosion. So that's basically that. And the question is, should we enable it in MekHQ? Now, the for argument is big explosion fun. The against argument is that stack polling is really nasty against infantry, because if an infantry unit gets caught in the stack pole blast, they're just dead. So that's why some people are against it. Some people are for it. At this point, we've got 11 votes now. Like, we just got 3 votes in as many seconds. So now the stack polling is winning. So now if you want stack polling to stop, if you don't want to see stack polling in tonight's episode of the Scotorious Bastards, you need to rush to the Discord. You need to rush to the Discord and tell me, because the Scotorious Bastards will be coming soon. How soon? Well, if I check my streaming schedule, because I can't be trusted to remember how time zones work, the Scotorious Bastards, our live MekHQ campaign, will be starting in 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I think really we've done everything that we want to do today. I really feel like we've got a lot done today, and I'm really happy with how we're coming along. So I think we're going to end the stream now. But as I say, come back in 2 hours for the adventures of the Scotorious Bastards. The Scotorious Bastards are a House Rasselhaig unit, and they're fighting the Red Assholes, a Lyrian, like let's start again. So the Red Assholes are a pirate front for the Federated Commonwealth that a certain faction within the old Lyrian Commonwealth is using to poke the Rasselhaigian bear. And so we're striking out into Fedcom territory to try and bring the Red Assholes to justice. And of course, there is always the doomsday clock. There are just over 3 years now until the start of the clan invasion. So if you want to see how Innisphere Surats survive against the might of the clan war machine, join us in 2 hours, because with every day we click Advanced Day, the clans come closer. But yeah, I think for now there's not really much more I can do in 15 minutes, so I'm going to go make myself my dinner and get ready for the Scotorious Bastards in 2 hours. I hope you all will join me, and if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the follow button. Let us know that you've been having a good time. If you're really having a good time, there's always the subscribe button, but never feel like you need to. Like, this is don't feel pressured. Only subscribe if you can afford it. And if you want to join us hanging out between streams, there's the IllianiDev Discord. You'll find it in the link. There's also the link to the official MegaMek Discord if you want to see official MegaMek stuff. All VODs are available on YouTube. When it's working, the IllianiDev Discord will announce when the new VODs are available. But until then, may all your hits be crits. And remember, spend some time with your family. And if you don't want to, you can make one in MekHQ. Good night, everybody. Toodles!